Hey yo, and welcome to the AWO Journeyman podcast. Back to our regularly scheduled programming in our home state of Victoria. Maso soon to join us, but I am JD, the Carlton fan who, after 6 long weeks, has finally experienced a little bit of happiness. Joining me as usual is my good friend Nate, who, let's be honest, mate, Port can think they're at the top of the ladder, but you're coming in red hot next week and just taking that spot straight back, ain't you?
I am scared. I am scared now. I think I'm going to start off differently. How are you feeling?
I mean, I don't know if I have more questions than answers today, but I'm happy. I think it's just happy to see a win. It's been a long time. A month and a half is a long time. But yeah, so joining us soon will be Maso, the Freo fan, who is probably now starting to question everything, considering they went down over the weekend as well. So yeah, a bit of a rough fortnight for Freo. I don't know really how to dissect their game. Probably the same way we ended the Carlton game. It was a bit of what the fuck was that? Because it was the exact same sort of thing. But boys, let's talk some footy. Totally forgot there was even a game on Thursday night. But Port Powerhouse taking on Geelong. 16-14, 110 takes on 11-6, 72. Port by 38 points. Take it away, Nate, because you probably have a bit more to say about this than I do, because I did not get too much of a chance to watch this.
I was going to say, did you watch any part of it, or?
I got to watch the last quarter. That's when I realized the game was on and went, oh shit, flicked it on and went, sweet, started watching it. So, but the game was already pretty much done. I think Port had kicked 7 goals straight in the third to pretty much take it away from Geelong, and Geelong just couldn't find their footing from what I could see. So it was just a Port dominance in that last quarter. With Geelong just sprinkling in a few junk time goals in there just to make the margin look a little bit better.
That was pretty much it. It started off all Geelong. They had a 20-point lead at quarter time. And I thought to myself, hey, it's all right to have an off game. They're overdue for I keep saying they're overdue for a loss or overdue for a bad one. It doesn't really bother Port Adelaide. They've done well already with 10 wins in a row. But they keep finding a way. Now, I tipped Geelong to beat Port for this reason and this reason only. Port, this was their 4th game in a row on a 6-day break. So I thought at some point it's going to get to them.
Yep.
But they're just a class above at the moment. This game proved, for me at least, they're a premiership fancy. I thought it was Collingwood, Brisbane, Melbourne. I thought Port were the outlier, even though they deserve to be top 4. They deserve to be on top at the moment, and they deserve to be a premiership favourite as well. But we know with Port Adelaide, it's a case of get to the prelim, and we know how the story ends with them. So going to take a step back with them just for now. But at this stage, at their bye round, they're well-deserving to be on top of the ladder. They got the game in hand, though, over Collingwood, though, so they can enjoy it for at least 1 week. But it was a nice little percentage booster for Port Adelaide.
I feel like one problem they have is those players rotate a bit too much. Is they don't have a bit more, like with I feel like your bottom end players, there's maybe a few that rotate here and there, but when it comes closer to finals, you really cement it. Whereas they rotate, realistically that whole 6 throughout the whole season, and it just doesn't really click, I reckon. I don't know what you think on that.
Oh, but it's a good thing for depth when someone like Tom Jonas when Tom Jonas can't get a game, when Ollie Lord can't get a game. I think Jackson Mead can't get a game. Riley Bonner's the sub. It's a good problem to have, but come finals, that's when it's the moment of truth for Port Adelaide. As for Geelong, their premiership defence is very shaky now. They're 6 and 7. Their next 2 games is going to be very telling. They've got Melbourne in Geelong, Goomba Stadium, and then Sydney at the SCG Grand Final rematch. How they perform in those 2 games, or the results for the next 2 games for Geelong, will determine if they're going to make finals or if they're going to push, to be a decent side. for September, but it's looking very shaky when Chris Scott is giving his team a bake and he's staring Jeremy Cameron right in the eyes, pretty much telling him to do something. It's starting to become, it's a bit of a worry now for Geelong, but
I think this is probably a good game to start off with starting to explain what the Vortex is. Because so Geelong being in 10th position, 24 points, realistically only puts them, only percentage and points away from 15th position. It also puts them percentage and points away from 8th position at the moment. So how do you feel you want to explain the Vortex? Do we want to try
let's try and I haven't written anything down for it. I think we first brought this up, or maybe I first brought this up when Collingwood beat Adelaide by a point, where I was like, all right, Collingwood's on top, teams below us, figure yourselves out.
Yep.
I think the teams have heard that question and thought, you know what, fuck this, we're just going to muck around a bit.
It's going to work it out in due time.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be figured out at all. So basically, it's teams in a set range in the middle of the table or the middle of the ladder, just fluctuating positions throughout the season, stealing wins from each other, getting wins over teams above them, but losing to teams below them, and vice versa as well. The majority of them are bogey sides come footy tipping. It's kind of pissed me off to no end at this point. But Geelong, you can see with the display or the background, they're one of 11 teams in the Vortex at the moment. I've dubbed them, it's from 5 to 15 at this point. Geelong in 9th or 10th spot, and who knows where they're going to finish. They could end up being in the bottom 6 in the next 2 weeks. They could be in the top 6 in the next 2 weeks. But if I had to compare this to other Vortexes, if you go back a couple of years to 2021, I think 7 to 12 was a pretty good Vortex. Teams like West Coast and Richmond just couldn't cement final spots. They fell off. St. Kilda had a rocky start to the season, couldn't get themselves in the top 8. Freo were trying to get into the top 8, but it ended up being the Giants and the Bombers cashing in on 7th and 8th spot. That was the season where 1st and 6th were just cemented straight away, and then teams below them were just trying to figure themselves out. And then you had North Melbourne, Gold Coast, Collingwood. I think Hawthorn as well just couldn't get much momentum at all that season. But that was about 7 to 12 in 2021. This year, it's meant to be 5 to 14, but as we'll touch on with the Giants and even Carlton this round, it's starting to expand a little bit more. Don't be surprised if these teams lose to teams like Hawthorn to drag them into it, even though they're a long shot of making finals. But that's the thing with this Vortex. It's just anything can fucking happen at this point. Teams are still stealing wins off each other, and it's not going to disperse until the final round of the season.
It's going to be a fun watch this, because I reckon every week we're going to have teams either looking like they're going out of it or getting sucked back into it. Because, like I think as you said, a few losses to Melbourne and Brisbane, they get sucked back into it. But also, you get a few wins for Sydney and Carlton, and they're well and truly right into that Vortex, and who knows what's possible. So I'm just going to quickly touch on the teams currently in it, and then I think we'll just sort of muck around with it. I know you've got to display it, but just for anybody listening. So we got St. Kilda, Essendon, Western Bulldogs, Adelaide, Richmond, Geelong, GWS Giants, Gold Coast Suns, Fremantle, and Carlton, and the Sydney Swans just clinging on to it. But I believe they've already had their bye, haven't they, as well?
Yes, they have, Sydney. They got a chance to get themselves elevated with a game against West Coast coming up.
Yep, so they can push above. So a few interesting little things that are going to happen over the next couple of weeks, especially with this Vortex. But it's going to be fun to watch. This one going to be fun to watch.
Good as a neutral. Again, for me, footy tipping wise, it's going to piss me off. But 9 or 10 rounds to go. It's going to be fun to watch. Even as a Collingwood supporter looking down for now, it's going to be interesting to see where teams land between 5 and 8. And hopefully, I want to see a few more interstate sides get into the 5 to 8 spot, because I want to see a bit of diversity come finals. I don't want to see games played in Victoria every week.
I think that's good to move on to Friday night, because the Swans certainly did give Brisbane a bit of a run for their money there. But 13-19-97 played 12-9-81. Brisbane Lions by 16. Quick question without notice. Do you think the AFL this year, it's mainly at Clubland, is having a bit of problem when it, and I addressed it earlier in the season, but is he having a bit of problem with accuracy? Because it feels like this season, for some reason, we're just seeing giant scores of points. My club being one of the biggest offenders of that. So I don't know what you think about it, but I think there actually is something into this where clubs just aren't as accurate as they used to be.
Yeah, 100%. They were 9 goals, 7 Brisbane, halfway through the third quarter. They kicked 4 goals, 12 to end the game. It's going to cost the team greatly deep in September.
I think so as well.
Their fucking goal kicking is going to cost them a premiership.
I think there's a few teams that, and I think nearly every team is vulnerable. No more so than, current top of the table, Port Adelaide. They love kicking a lot of points in their games at the moment, but they just at the moment are getting so many forward 50 entries that they're scoring so highly. So it's not really affecting them as greatly, but it's more so the fact that there was a game, I think, against Essendon a few weeks ago. They just clung on. But it just seems like, this game was blown wide open at the fact that the Lions just kept the door open for Sydney to keep chipping away at the lead to sort of get themselves back, back to it was really weird that last quarter because it was sort of like in terms of they were matching each other there for a little bit in terms of goal for goal, but then Sydney sort of got themselves right and just tried to get the lead back at the end, but just couldn't pip them. But because, like I said, I think Sydney have fallen well. They're almost out of the vortex. They're one big loss away from, falling completely away, which is going to be greatly disappointing, I think, for the Swans trying to go. I mean, it's funny. We thought the Swans might be the team that doesn't go through the curse this year. But it looks like they're going to be the team, they're just going to follow suit and be another team that missed finals after getting flogged in a grand final and didn't, aren't looking as ready, as good as spoils. And I think you said it best. They had a very good handy draw last year. So to be fair, though, I think it's going to be dangerous for them next year because the draw, depending where they finish, the draw and the draft pick they get going to be very, very handy for the Swans. But the Lions, they're just keeping their season rolling on. Definitely need to address that goal kicking, but another win in the top 4, keeping themselves out of the vortex. Well done, Lions.
And a big game next Friday night. They got St Kilda at Marvel. It's not the MCG, it's Marvel,
but it's
so
Victoria.
They can win games at Marvel. But that's the game. If Brisbane can beat St Kilda, that's the top 4 locked in for me. If the Saints can pull, not an upset, but they can beat Brisbane, then Saints can get themselves at the top of that vortex to have a look or have a peek back in top 4. And what are you boys doing up there?
Just peeking over the fence, they would be.
Yeah.
But there's not too much to harp on about this game. I think the main concern for the Lions was that, like we sort of have just touched on, it's just mainly that goal kicking. Like, they realistically should have absolutely smashed the Swans. And that's what we're seeing a lot of, is teams just keeping other clubs. I should get a little bit closer. Clubs just keeping.
I can hear you.
Yeah, clubs just keeping teams in games by just absolute poor goal kicking this year. And I think you said it best. There is going to be a game late in this year, or there's going to be a game in finals that is going to cost someone dearly. And I do think could be someone like a Brisbane that fall to that sword.
Even Sydney have fallen to that sword a few times this season because of their goal kicking. I guess my question is, I don't think Sydney's going to play finals this year, but is this just an outlier year for them? Or do you think they can bounce back, or they got some issues to address in the off-season?
Well, I think they'll be okay in a lot of aspects. Their list, I think, has a lot of positives in terms of young players. So I do think they've got that going for them. It's just also the fact that we haven't seen enough of, say, like someone like a Logan McDonald where it hasn't worked. And they got some injury prone tall forwards, which I think can hurt them, especially once Buddy, because we pretty much agreeing that this is going to be Buddy's last year.
Yeah.
So they got some problems to address, but also being the Swans, they always find a way to address it at the trade table. I don't think at this point for them it's going to be a draftee that gets it done. I think they've got a lot of key cogs. That's the main thing. But now their defense is absolutely rattled and now needs to be almost completely reassessed. Because I think that was the problem that that wasn't the problem they had last year. So last year, having their defense was pretty rock solid for 90% of the season. And then this year, you look what's happened once they lost both McCartans and even Rampy once he went out for a solid amount of time. They were really struggling there. So there's potential for them to get it back on track, but I just think that they're basically going to have to address their defense massively in the off season. And that's probably the only problem I can see them having. But I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's just an outlier year. I think their list is young enough to mature in the next couple of years. I think Longmire is the right coach for it. I'm looking forward to see what McDonald and Amadi can do and addressing their key defence as well. Nothing wrong with their midfield. I guess their ruck as well. So it's the key position players is what they need to address. And it can't be done in one off-season. That's all.
Now, I'm not going to move on to the next game. Oh, yes, I am. Yes, I am going to move on to the next game because I was going to skip it until he joined.
No. Keep moving.
Nah, but so we're moving on to Saturday where the Giants... I can't believe you literally joined as we were about to switch into this game. So
I've been sitting there for a bit.
Oh, no.
I was waiting for you to finich waffling to get Maso on.
I don't know if I've seen you doing this to me.
No.
So 16-10, 106. Giants beat Fremantle 5-6-36. So Giants by 70 points. Mason, what the hell happened?
Positive.
That wasn't Fremantle, mate. That was Shitmantle.
That was G-Mantle.
That was like watching my Rezzies team play. Like, that was fucking horrible. Did we all just have like a bet? Like, did they get on the piss the game before? Like, I just don't get it. I've never seen so many players just jogging beside the opposition players. Like, almost like they're shepherding them. Like, oh, let me like make room for you to kick a fucking goal. Like, we made Riccardi look like prime Buddy Franklin. Like,
he did look good.
I was going to say, now, Maso said Riccardi loves playing Freo. I had to have a look into it. He does love playing Freo. His second career game, he kicked 4 goals against Freo.
Yeah. Oh,
no, 5 goals here.
Yeah.
Wow.
He loves it. He loves kicking goals against us. I remember, I think we were trying to get into the finals and we were on like a bit of a hot streak. And then it was a game at Optus against the Giants. And yeah, he kicks 4 or 5.
And then Riccardi went, no.
Yeah, it was Riccardi kicking 4 or 5 on us. But
wow.
It's a problem with it's early season Fremantle get bullied in the midfield. Get bullied in the midfields.
That's what it was, because I was going to say it was Kelly, it was Caniglio, it was Green. You guys just got absolutely dominated in that midfield. It's funny though. I don't think Brayshaw and Sarong had too bad a games either. I think they were just bullied by bigger boys, essentially, and experience.
Like, yeah, they're not the biggest of boys. They got all the talent in the world. We just need a monster in there.
You're missing that. You're missing a big, and you sort of said it, I think, a few weeks ago to me, where it's like, Will Brodie was that a little bit last season, but he's just not been that, or he hasn't had the shot to be that this season.
Not that guy, pal. Trust me, you're not that
guy.
Yeah, he's not that guy. But that was an embarrassment. So yeah,
Craxton had a decent crack at it.
He doesn't do very well against bigger body rucks. And so
he definitely was a one-man army in the last, though.
But he was nullified throughout the game slowly because they just wore on him. But that's a worry, though. If Darcy is that important to our structure, like, Jesus.
sign the man up now.
Yes, give him a lifetime contract. I stopped watching at halftime when we played Diablo 4. Like, that was horrible.
Shout out to Diablo 4.
Mm-hmm.
But the Giants, what are they doing in the Vortex?
I mean, the Giants were not meant to be here. Giants were meant to be bottom 4. I mean, but I did address this I have addressed this at various points. Their top end talent is good enough to get them far enough into it. I just think it's how far the kids come along. And again, we've said that probably the kids will drop off in the next few weeks based on knowing how teams go at that time of year, especially when they've got relying on a lot of 18 to 21-year-olds. But yeah, I do think their top end talent is still looking the spoils. I think it was Whitfield. He went out with I have to look out. I can't remember if it was, but yeah, Whitfield, I believe, has an injury concern. So
well, he's suspended for a week. He got suspended for that sling tackle on Jordan Clark.
I think, was it Whitfield who had an injury concern? I don't know. No, Whitfield.
Hogan was laid out.
I don't know. I can't remember.
From Townsville. Shit. Tom Green. I was like, oh, can we steal Tom Green? Because that's exactly the kind of player that we need.
Tom Green is actually probably the player you need, but they've got some absolute gems, I think, now coming through. Finn Callahan's one of those. Tom Green's one of those. Kieran Briggs has been coming along quite nicely.
They finally got their ruck. Yep. They
do. Have you heard what they've been calling him now? Mummy Junior.
Oh, he's going to be better than Mummy. That's a big call to make now, but he's going to be a solid ruckman for the next 5 to 10 years for him.
Did the AFL give them more priority picks?
No. Bitter.
I
don't like the orange team. Just fucking get rid of them.
They have become a little bit entertaining this year in my books, though. But to be fair, I don't like seeing this happen to Freo. But it'd be nice if you maybe got on the plane and went over to New South Wales. Because,
who wants to do that?
I mean, nobody does. I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that. But at the end of the day, you got to do it. You got to go play the Giants at Giants Stadium. And unfortunately, you just did not turn up at all.
Yeah, it did not turn up.
But there's not too much more to say on this other than the fact that, as Nath said, the Giants somehow have found themselves in the vortex, and Freo just, instead of a fortnight ago, before we were going to Perth, they were staring down the barrel of a top 8 spot. Now they're just firmly in that vortex now, well and truly back in the pack. So have fun, Freo. You've got a lot of things to work out once again, but I reckon as usual, we'll say I'll back in.
They've gone back to the baby dockers. They've put the diapers back on and shit their pants.
They're allergic to the top 8, Freo, but I think they can do a reverse Carlton. I reckon they'll be outside the top 8 for 23 rounds, and then the final round of the season, they'll sneak into the top 8.
Thanks for the drive-by.
But, I wouldn't want that. Then we would get eliminated in the first game.
Now, once you somehow make a prelim.
I mean, that would be great because then we could give the middle finger to Melbourne, but that would,
Melbourne at the MCG.
All right, we're waffling again.
No,
I don't want to speak about this trash anymore.
Yeah, that's very fair. We'll move on to a game that was probably a lot better on Saturday night, which was Richmond versus St Kilda. 13-12-90, played 11-4-70. Richmond by 20 points. This was, I don't know how you guys felt, but this was certainly an entertaining game in my books. As soon as this game got, basically the rain started to fall, it just all fell in Richmond's favour. There was not much that really went wrong. The Saints sort of got themselves back into it, but, I think they just held steady, Richmond, and got the job done in the wet.
This was almost identical to their win over Fremantle last week.
It gave me PTSD. It gave me PTSD.
Floston down back, being the general again. St Kilda, they actually got it inside 50, but their inaccuracy in that final quarter. It was, and then Richmond kicking 2 late goals to seal it. Shea Bolden with a snap to end it.
Yeah, can he stop?
I mean,
No, not you, Bolton. Can he stop?
I don't
Stop
think
with this
anyone can
magical bullshit.
stop Bolton at the moment. He is on fire.
Level 10 wizard.
And what has Kane Corn unleashed with his Tim Taranto comment?
I mean, he loves to do this to someone through like every season. It feels like he puts the bullet, like puts the arrow to them, and then next thing you know, they go mental over the next.
Gideon last year, Taranto this year.
Taranto this year. I was going to say, what's he going to do to look like Tim Taranto on the Sunday Footy Show by the end of the year?
I want him to come out and say, "Oh yeah, I've actually been doing this to motivate the players."
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because I don't mind Kane Corns, but that was he's just absolutely wrong with Tim Taranto. He has proved him wrong. If you want to talk about anybody, you talk about some of their lesser players that they have. I think they've got a lot of talent that's sitting on the outside at the moment. Like, I mean, poor Samson Ryan, he battled through injury to all that game. Actually, you know what? I will. You know who's someone I do want to give credit to? Ben Miller. It's funny. I called him my boy in round one, but how good was Ben Miller up forward? He was presenting like no tomorrow. And I mean, I think they said he's 198 or he's exactly 200 centimeters. Massive target up forward. And I think he kicked 2 goals, did everything he had to in terms of leads. So he was very serviceable for them up forward. But I don't think we can go past Trent Cotchin's game. What a 300th game that was.
Say the line. Say the line.
Say the line, Bart. What
Say the line, Nate. Turned back the clock.
You want a cliche? Oh, you want some cliches for you? Turn back. He wound back the clock. He was magical. He was absolutely delicious. I mean, what else?
Not that one. No.
You don't want delicious.
No.
I mean, how can you not miss Brucey? But Cochin, it was probably one of the most dominant 300 games we've ever seen. What do you guys think?
I was just sitting there like Jesse Pinkman. It was like, they can't keep getting away with this. Like, everything works for them. Like the tap-on, somebody's just magically there. A handball, without looking, somebody's magically there. Slap it forward. It just works.
Richmond in the wet, man. Richmond in the wet.
Works. Yeah, it's bullshit.
Ross Lyon is not a premiership coach. He got out-coached against Richmond.
By their second, by not even their first choice coach.
Oh no, I need to bring this up. Does the coach for Tigers at the moment look like a younger version of Damien Harwood?
Yes.
Mixed with Sammy Mitchell.
The mannerisms, identical to Hardwick. It is ridiculous.
Weird. Did they clone him?
Are his press conferences the same? I haven't watched any of them.
I think they are.
That's
jeez. He's probably has he called out the media team yet?
He hates Marvel as well.
Oh god, our fans just don't travel here. They just don't travel here. It's true. It's true. It's damn true, and it's damn true that Sunday Carlton actually bothered to turn up to play footy. It was quite the display. So 18-12, 120, played 8-13, 61. Carlton by 59 points. Boys, I was left with more questions led than answers. Where the hell has this been all year?
Yeah.
I have absolutely zero idea. I literally reckon I sat there by the end of the game going, so where was this all year? Because this was just a dominant performance. This was all round. We basically batted 100 when we went inside 50. It was beautiful to watch our midfield get involved. It was beautiful to watch the forwards kick straight. Harry had a very enjoyable 100th. TDK had an enjoyable 50th. It was just a fun day at the footy. It was really weird. I think a lot of us went in, especially after the first quarter, thinking, you know what? We're going to get fucked here. But nah, came out on top. And like I said, more questions than answers. I think we just keep the season alive, but who knows where we end up come season's end at this point. But as I said to you before we started, Nate, I don't think Carlton deserve any form of let's talk about them for an extended period of time because this isn't this is one performance. I think you called it perfectly. This is against Gold Coast, who were notorious for bottling it when they're close to getting into the 8, which is something that I think we need to talk about a little bit more. The Suns, we're trying to will them into the bloody 8, and they keep breaking our bloody hearts because this was another chance to basically have a few good weeks. If they beat Carlton, they go on to play Hawthorn. They beat Hawthorn, and then basically set up a really nice showdown with Collingwood at. I don't even want to. I just call it, at the stadium up in Gold Coast.
Spurbank Stadium.
Oh yeah, Spurbank Stadium. I forgot we dubbed it that, but yeah, Spurbank Stadium up in the Gold Coast. They were setting up a nice clash, but now they've sort of set themselves back a little bit here, and now they're again once again a little bit behind the 8 ball. So Suns have a lot of question marks again going into finals. They need to really up the game to get themselves there. I think you said it last week that these are the games. Basically Carlton were very vulnerable, and essentially they potentially just played us back into form. So who knows where these two teams end up by the end of the year? I think they're two of the biggest question marks in the Vortex currently. But what are your thoughts on the Suns?
They lacked leadership. They lacked discipline. They owe me an apology.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair.
I got nothing for them.
Yeah,
no,
I got really nothing.
Well,
it was a nothing game.
Yeah, the next 3 home games, it's against Hawthorn, Collingwood, St Kilda. But win 2 of those games, be a game or percentage outside the 8 next month, and then we'll see from there.
And yet, they're still in front of us.
Well, I'd like to think that you two got yourself back into the hunt for tipping, but it was such a bad tipping week that none of us took Carlton, or none of us took any of these Smokies to get ourselves back into it.
Nate froze.
Nate froze. I love a good Nate freeze. We'll just keep going because it's one of those. Again, it's not really a game to waffle on about. I think Carlton played well. I think the Suns once again potentially bottled a top 8 spot, which is just disappointing when it comes to Gold Coast, because once again they had a chance to get themselves back into it. One thing I also do just want to mention when it comes to Carlton, Paddy Cripps got himself to 100 captain games, and what a game it was for the skip. Rick came into the game only kicking 1 goal, basically, and ended it leaving, had kicked 3. So, 3 just today, I should say. So ended leaving kicking 4. So well done to the skip for leading the way. And
did you just call him Rick?
Yeah, we call him Rick.
Why don't you just call him Cripper?
Rick's a good one. I enjoy Rick. A valiant effort from North Melbourne, only just going down to the Western Bulldogs. So 13-6-84, played 15-15, 105. Western Bulldogs by 21 points. Footscray should be pretty happy tonight, getting over the line. Just doing what they need to do to keep themselves in the top 8. Not too much to say about this game, except for the fact that I think this is probably... I think it's good to see the effort that North Melbourne has been bringing the last probably month since Clarko has gone out. The effort they're bringing each week is a lot better, and I think they're pushing themselves a lot better each week to stick in games pretty much until the end. This was no exception. They basically kicked 3 goals in a row that was just stemmed in the last little bit and was undone by, I think it was another 3 Western Bulldogs goals. But at the end of the day, North are at least providing effort each week, which is something that they couldn't say a few weeks, basically a month and a half ago. But Western Bulldogs firmly in the Vortex, sitting inside the 8 nicely. Again, allergic to a top 4 spot, but at least they're sitting in there.
5 to 8, that's where they do their damage.
It is there. I mean, all they need to do. The thing about the Bulldogs is all they need to do is finish inside the top 8 to really have it. Like they really can have a shot at finals, no matter where they finish, as long as it's inside the 8.
They've only got 9 games to go. They've only got to play 2 top 8 sides left. So there's no excuse to miss finals. And they should easily get a home final with the draw they've got. They play Geelong in the final round in Geelong, or Goomba. I keep saying in Geelong. I've got to start saying
Goomba.
Goomba.
Goomba Stadium.
Now, the Dogs, with the draw they've got, they play the Eagles again. I don't think they've got North Melbourne again, but it's an easy draw to finish the season. Surely they're playing final. Surely they get a home final. Fucking North Melbourne, 12 losses in a row. It doesn't feel like that at all with the effort they're putting in. The kids they're playing. Nick Lark is doing good shit down forward. Cam Zohar's kicking goals still. He's still letting him down though. But their defense though is a bit of a problem.
They got George Wardlaw, aka Wardlow, who's looking the spoils. A couple of those kids are looking really good, but again, they've got to find a win in one of these games soon, because those losses stacking up really does hurt the morale of some of those players. It's just you don't want to build a culture where effort is the only thing you bring each week. I'm not going to blast them for they're not bringing it. They're not doing enough like in terms to win games, but they are in some of these games. Like they had every shot to win this game, to overpower the Dogs. But once again, they're just sort of lacking that last little 10 minutes of polish to really run out a game, which, that's something that comes, but they really do need to start trying to get some of those wins coming, like especially soon, because it just feels like at the moment they're going to struggle. They're just struggling to get any form of a win, any form of victory. So they really do need to get something on the board sooner rather than later.
I'm going non-footy related for this one. I'm going wrestling related. A lady in the front row with pink hair in AEW Rampage this week. I saw to watch, ruined the show. Did not smile at all. She cheered, but with such lack of charisma, she did not smile once. Fuck you! You ruined the show for me. The arrow's pointed at you. Okay?
What a weird arrow to. I mean,
I just fucking hate people. I can't do this anymore.
That's actually very fair.
All right, Maso, my question is, who from Freo is the boy this week?
Well, that's where you're wrong, my good sir. Now, I love doing this. This gentleman, this stud of a man, with golden locks, was born 3rd of December 1997. He initially debuted for Geelong. It is currently playing for Port Adelaide. Grew up in Perth. Went to Wesley College. Was the pick 60th in the 2016 draft. It is Sir Sparkle Narkle. And that is my boy for this week. Because who does not love the Sparkle Narkle?
Well deserved.
He lost 11 kilos in the off-season to get himself on an AFL list again. Good on him.
He looks great.
He does look great. And the hair as well. Yeah. Looking luscious.
He's smiling again. That's all we want to see.
It's true. And it was a bit I think we said it in our preview for the season, is Quinton Narkle should be on an AFL list right now. So good to see him back on one. And good to see him almost get him game immediately after the mid-season draft.
It was great. It was great to see. Kicking goals. Love it.
You remember this, pal? You're a boy in a man's world.
Yeah, it's Santantaro Halper, the famous Carlton and GWS player. Played for Carlton through the years of 2005 to 2011. Played 80 games for Carlton and kicked 67 goals.
67.
67. Then went over to the GWS Giants and played 8 games for them and kicked 15 goals. So Santanta's little helpers didn't quite help there. There's a few things I want to talk about with Big Santanta. He was basically brought in to be the Fev, brought in to be to help Fev out and to play ruck. But I think a lot of us remember him for what he did in 2007, where he, I believe it was he kicked Cameron Cloak, basically in the balls, and knocked him out in a preseason scratch match. It was one of the most insane things that you will ever see on a football field. He was delisted and basically sent over to GWS, where he was an inaugural player on the list. I love some of these inaugural players because I just think they're so interesting. It's like how I wish I could get certain snippets of players' careers and just have them as boys. Like how good would it be to have, what's Kane's brother? Chad Corns. Imagine having a Chad Corns career at GWS, just his GWS career as a boy. But Santanta retired at the end of 2014 and then fucked off to Albury to play country football. So Santanta O'Halpin, welcome to the Hall of Fame.
It's Takeshita!
Ouch!
Bandito.
Chris Bandito.
Bandito.
Come, was this on Rampage?
Yes.
Damn it! I watched Dynamite. He was on Dynamite.
Oh, you missed Rampage. He's
Yeah.
a match on Rampage.
Didn't know he was scheduled for one.
Love his entrance.
Yeah, oh my God. He has currently got a picture of him and Don Callis as centaurs.
Majestic.
It's beautiful. But, Nate, can you point something out since the AWO Journeyman began?
Oh, yeah. So we've started covering with AWO Journeyman, start of March. Takeshita is 15-1. We're basically turned a boy into a man.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Takeshita with the win over Bandito on Rampage.
Wow.
Forbidden Doors coming up. Omega's defending the US title against Osprey. Do you think there'll be some interference involved, or is it just a straightforward one-on-one match?
It's an absolute shame that Kota's no longer with New Japan in that sense. But is that where you reckon we'll see Kota, potentially see Kota Ibushi there?
No, not at Forbidden Door. No, I think I'm
I
expecting
know with the
Ospreay
crossover event. No.
I reckon Osprey wins, but Takeshita will be involved somehow.
Continue the feud there because we're still building to blood and guts in that sense.
Yeah.
So, but also the return of Eddie Kingston raised a whole bunch of questions. But he was also, as Maso pointed out, he was also involved in the finish of Dynamite as well. So we can't forget that he had the match with Bandito, but he was on our television screens twice, and now we have 3 shows. Can we get him on all 3? That would be beautiful. Imagine just Takeshita all the time.
I mean, we get fucking Roman Reigns on Raw and SmackDown, so that's enough as it is.
No, we'll just replace Roman with Takeshita.
I hope so.
The true head of the table.
Yeah. He is the one.
The one Takeshita.
But that is Takeshita Watch.
So, do you want to know what was left over from the gifts that I didn't bring? It was 2 more Australia jumpers, so I gave them to my sister because I was like, fuck it.
No. Did I pay for that?
Probably. I'll just give you money
I
for it if you want.
I want it back.
She's been wearing them all week.
I want them back.
What a dick.
What a boy.
What a boy. Now I'll give you the money if you want them. And a beach towel, Australian beach towel,
I want it back.
and an Australian scarf.
I want it back.
Which my mum wants the scarf.
$80.
Whoa.
$80. I can tell you now, it wasn't $80. The
It's an Australian scarf, Ned. $90.
Oh, sweet Jesus. I'm just going to wrap it up there instead of making Nate have to edit more and more. So we are the AWO Journeyman. Follow us on Spotify, Instagram, and YouTube at AWO Journeyman. Like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. And please drink more water. Oh, no.
Yes.
Kill it. Burn it with fire.